Hey, what's up everyone? Another day in the shop here. Today I want to upgrade some things on my 2016 Ford Mustang. Here she is right there. Actually want to take this thing and upgrade the shifter on it. Not necessarily replace the shifter, but I want to upgrade some of the bushings on it. Anyone who knows these cars with that get rag transmission in it, manual transmission, knows that the shifter isn't the greatest. So I want to try and fix some of that binding. At this point, I'd love to upgrade the shifter itself on it, but we're not going to do that today. We're actually going to upgrade just the bushings. Got them over here. So this is a Steeda bushing mount here that I picked up, and also energy suspension, kind of a reinforcement bushing insert that would go on the transmission mount itself. So if you know these cars, just the way the transmission is mounted on the car and the shifter, part of the shifter is mounted to the body, and the other, the transmission is mounted to the engine. So anytime that engine rocks, the body isn't necessarily going to move the same way. So under heavy acceleration, it likes to bind a little bit. So I'm hoping to take care of that with those bushings, and we'll see how this goes. I do also have to get this thing oil changed. April 20th here is Mustang National Day, or National Mustang Day. So I'm going to take this thing out for that, meet up with some other friends, and so I'll go through that. I'm not going to show you the oil change, but I'll kind of go through what it takes to get those bushings replaced, and it should be a somewhat quick video. But I also said that too when I was doing the transmission on the Ranger. I figured it'd just be a quick torque converter replacement and put it back together, but it ended up being a whole transmission overhaul and everything. So we'll get into it here, and we'll see how this goes. But all right, first thing to do is get this thing up in the air. Just recently picked up these quick jacks, and really love these things so far. They're real nice and handy. They're kind of fairly heavy. Each one is fairly heavy to move around and stuff. I forget how much they weigh per one, but I mean, obviously you don't want that to be a lightweight and then the thing falls on you. So they're very quality built and stuff, and so far, yeah, I love having these things. They put the car at a nice ride height. There's actually two different levels you can set it at, or if you just want to put it on jack stands. But yeah, it does a good job of lifting it up. So all right, we're gonna roll under the car here. Get back to where the shifter is at the rear of the transmission. Hopefully we can see this. Now, if you want a lot of room, you can remove the exhaust, remove the drive shaft, all that good stuff. I'm hoping to not have to do that. If we look up here, I don't know if we can see up in there, but right here is where that shifter bushing, the rear shifter bushing, is at. Maybe we can see it from this side. The camera's blocking all my light. Right there, there's two bolts that hold it on. One on each side of that metal bracket there. And I'm going to try and remove that without having to pull the drive shaft out. I got two nuts removed already, and I'm hoping I can just slide it off because it just slides right out the back. And I should have enough room there and enough play in there. And then the new one should slide on there too after the fact. So we're going to give it a shot here. The only issue is trying to get your hand up in here with the exhaust and stuff in the way. We'll give it a shot. I'm gonna have to put the camera down here quick and see if we can't pull that off. All right, there we go. Came off fairly easy once I was able to. I didn't realize there was this little metal tab on here that basically keeps it from falling off once you got the nuts off of there. So that's a little tricky because it wants to catch on the back side with these little tabs there. But otherwise, yeah, when it's up there, it's kind of sits like that. You just kind of have to bend it and pull it right out of there, and she's fine. So, but yeah, seems like they didn't necessarily need to put that on there, but they did. So, but now you can see kind of the difference between the Steeda one and the stock one. Sure seems to be a lot looser in this area than here. So I can, if I have any issues with this being too big or whatever to slide it in there, I should be able to slide this on there first and then put the bracket on. So we'll give that a try. All right, one thing I want to show you here quick is I've been kind of struggling with trying to get this to slide on the end of the shifter here, because I've been trying to keep it all together as I slide it on, and there's a little bit of a, what slides through here on the back of the shifter, there's a little bit of a lip right here. Until it gets past that lip, then it will slide on better. But struggling with it here, and I just realized that this actually splits right here to open up better. So what I have to do is I'm going to have to just raise this a little bit, get it to slide in there, and then I can push it back together. All right, got the new bushing back up in there. You can see this is a new bracket here. That worked pretty good. Once I opened that up on the bottom of that bushing, I was able to slide it on pretty easily. You could also add a little grease to it if you want, but if you look right here, there's a little bit of a lip on the back of the shifter here that sticks through the bushing, and that's why it doesn't slide on when the bushing is all the way installed in this bracket. So if you just separate it a little bit, see if you can see the back here a little bit. So if you just kind of separate the bushing and the bracket, just get it slid on, there's enough room here, then you can slide it all the way on. And so I didn't have to pull the drive shaft or the exhaust out. Now you'd have a lot more room if you did that, but this is basically a 10-minute job if you don't do that. And then these nuts here, they just come right off. The stud is welded to the tunnel, so you don't have to go on the inside and take any panels loose or anything like that. So once you get the nuts loose, you can just slide this bushing on and off, get the new one on, and you're good. Now, one thing I did notice is if you see this big oval rubber kind of grommet, or I don't want to call it a bushing, but it basically seals the underside of the shifter. So that kind of moves up and down once you get this bushing taken off the back here. That whole shifter will move up and down. But I did notice that it does kind of interfere just a little bit where that oval goes around. It does interfere with this bushing when you bolt it all up. And I can even see on the old factory one, it rubs just a little bit. Now, I don't think it's hurting anything. It doesn't interfere enough where it's not going all the way tight to the tunnel. You can trim it a little bit if you want, but I just kind of sandwiched it all tight, and it should be fine, and it's not going anywhere. But that was an easy install. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to have to put that the transmission mount here, insert in here. But to do that, we're going to have to take this cross member off. Even the dog wants to help here. He's trying to see what's going on down here. But we're going to have to take the transmission cross member down. So we got 2 bolts on each side. And then we'll have to put this, we'll get this on the bench, and we'll be able to see where it goes installed here. So you just can't, with the cross member here, you can't slide the insert in here. So we'll do that next. All right, you can see I got the cross member out now. It's kind of what it looks like. When you take this out, you don't necessarily have to lift up or support the transmission. It just drops just a little bit. So you can kind of get this out without having to support the rear of the transmission up in the air somehow. One thing I do recommend is getting these 2 bolts here, which are on the bottom. Sits like that. Get those 2 nuts loose on here first before pulling this all the way out of the vehicle. Mine were pretty stubborn, and it's just kind of hard to hang on to this on the bench here while you're trying to get them loose. I suppose you could use an impact gun or whatever, but maybe just get them cracked loose to begin with. But otherwise, you got the 2 bolts on each side, and then you have the 3 at the rear of the transmission here that hold everything in. So get those loose and you're good to go. But here is what we're trying to do here. You can see on the factory bushing, we got daylight in between rubber supports here. So what this bushing does here is it just slides into these slots and it stiffens all that up. It kind of locks on each side, and then it gets put back in here, and it can't fall out because it's sitting in this little cradle here. So basically just take this is 2 halves, and I don't think it really matters, you know, which way you're putting it in, front or rear, or, you know, but that's just going to shove in there, and then you'll put this on the other side and lock it in here. I'll have to set the camera down here, so I'm going to need both hands here to put this in. Alright, got both sides in here. You are going to need a little bit of probably grease on here to get it to slide in here, especially this middle piece was pretty tight, but that's, I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to stiffen it up. So put a little grease on that, all 3 spots there, and use a little muscle and push it in there. And then this side would be that locking piece. You can see the pins are sticking through here that slide through. So, but yeah, fairly easy upgrade. We'll put that all back together, get it back in the car. There, everything's bolted back up. Should work pretty good. Nothing too difficult. Probably took me about an hour and a half to do both, I suppose. All right, so now that everything's bolted back up, back in place, I'm going to finish up with the oil change, checking this thing over, and then we'll take this thing for a road test and see how it does, and see if this makes a difference with the shifting, see if it gets any better. All right, so far, driving it here, I can tell there's more NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. I'm guessing a lot of that's just from the transmission insert, that bushing insert. Seems to be shifting okay. I want to do a heavy acceleration here. I'm not going to do any burnouts or anything like that, but I want to see if I can find a spot here where I can get into some heavy acceleration and just see if this thing binds up like it used to. But so far, I don't notice a whole lot of difference in the shifting feel itself. But you can definitely hear there's a little bit more noise, or you can tell that basically like almost the transmission or the engine is solidly mounted to the frame. You can just get a little bit more feeling through the car itself. So all right, we're gonna find a spot here. See if this one will work. Oh yeah. All right. Start from a dead stop here. Just give her heavy acceleration. Oh, that's definitely way better. I didn't feel any binding there at all. Went into gear like it should. We'll give it another shot just to make sure that wasn't a fluke thing. All right, we'll give this thing a try here. That seemed to shift just fine, man. That's a definite improvement over what stock is. I didn't feel any binding there, went into gear like it should. Alright guys, that'll wrap this one up. It's a simple little improvement, fairly cheap, especially to improve that the shifting performance on here. I recommend it. Like I said, it was a Steeda bushing. That's the rear bushing on the shifter itself. And then I put that insert in the transmission cross member in the back of it. So I definitely tightened everything up and feels way better. So until next time guys, we'll see you later.